All right, we have previewed the 2021 schedule for the Oregon Ducks. Now I'm going to give you a projected record, and to be clear, this is not an official prediction. We're still a long ways away from making any real predictions. It's simply a projection based off the schedule and just kind of their general odds to win each game. Again, here is the schedule, 4-3 last year. The scale that we use to do this is on your screen here. If it's a 50-50 game, the game will stay in white. Less than 10% in red, 10 to 25% in orange, 26 to 40% in yellow, 60 to 74 in purple, 75 to 90 in blue. More than 90%, it'll be in green, and that is where we will start. You've got one of those. One easy win on the schedule. I think that's Stony Brook, FCS opponent. It would be a major upset if Oregon were to lose that game. They should win that game. I think it's close to a 99% chance of them winning. And so there you go. That's the one green game. Now, how about the blue games where they're going to be favored by double digits? It would be a pretty big upset if they were to lose. I think you have a couple of these. I think you've got Arizona. It's actually three of these. Arizona, Stanford, and Fresno State. Fresno State, a game that Oregon should win. I realize that they're not a bad group of five team or anything, but Oregon should win that game, and they'll be favored by double digits. Arizona has really been struggling. They might be the worst team in the Pac-12 now. And then you have Stanford, who has also been struggling. Oregon beat them easily last year. Stanford does not return much production this year. They're one of the lowest teams, I think, in the country. So you would expect Oregon to win those games, and that means really 4 of your first 5 games are going to be pretty easy. If they could somehow beat Ohio State, they're going to more than likely be 5-0. It would be a big surprise if they were to lose one of these other games. So now, let's go to the purple, the 60 to 74% games. These are the games where I think Oregon's going to be favored by about a touchdown. And, it's kind of tough to do this because that's a pretty big range, 60 to 74%. And I think most of these games are closer to 74 than they are 60, which is why I did a little bit different formula for Oregon, which I'll get to in a second. But I think you've got 5 games here. I think Cal, UCLA, Colorado, Washington State, and Oregon State, all games that Oregon will be favored in. That's not going to be like it's a guaranteed win. They could absolutely lose to one of these teams, but more than likely they will win at least. You'd say that they're going to win 4 out of 5 at least. They will be favored, I think, by 6, 7, 8 points in these matchups. Cal beat them last year, so that's a tricky game. Cal was a lot better than their record would suggest last season. UCLA's getting better as a program, as a team. Colorado was a surprise last year. Washington State has a lot of production coming back. Oregon State's a rivalry game. So yeah, all these games you got to be on lookout. If Oregon gets upset this year, it's probably going to be to one of these 5 teams. And the good news is you get 4 out of those 5 games at home. UCLA the only road game. So again, if that would be a game. If there was going to be an upset, you might circle that UCLA game on the road there on October 23rd. All right, so how about the games where they're going to be underdogs? I think you've got one game where they will clearly be an underdog. That's Ohio State, playing them on the road. They'll have a chance, and that's why it's in the yellow, not in the orange. They'll have a chance in this game, but playing on the road, playing early in the year against a very talented team, I got to say that Ohio State will be favored by about a touchdown in this matchup. Ohio State has some questions, though. Oregon has a lot more production coming back than the Buckeyes. So, again, they'll have a shot in this one. I think it's going to be a good game. And then that leaves us with 2 50-50 games, Washington and Utah. These are the games that I think will really determine Oregon's success in 2021. Let's say they beat everyone else here. All the games they're favored in, they win all those games. They lose to Ohio State. It comes down to these 2 games. You win both of these games, you win the Pac-12 championship, and if you were competitive against Ohio State, if it was a close game, Oregon is absolutely going to be in the playoff conversation, but they have to win all of these games. Washington and Utah are going to be very tough games on the road. I look at the rosters and I say Oregon has a little bit better roster, but playing these games again on the road, if we have fans back in the Pac-12 this year, both of these teams, Washington and Utah, have a chance to be top 25 teams. They're going to be very solid this year, and those are going to be the games. If they can somehow win those 2 games, it's going to be a great year. If they split those 2 games and they win every other game in the Pac-12, they're probably still going to go to the Pac-12 championship and still have a chance to go to the Rose Bowl. But if we're talking big picture, talking about the college football playoff, they're going to have to more than likely win both of these games. So what happens when we average it all out? Well, normally the way I do this is the games in blue, the games in green are counted as wins, orange and red losses, which you don't have any of those for Oregon. And then I used 40% for yellow, 50% for white, 60% for purple. But that was kind of coming out in between two different records. And when I look at these games in purple, I think they're all, clearly above 60%. And so I bumped that percentage up just a little bit for this particular projection. Because again, the projection was coming out almost right in the middle of two different records. So the projection for Oregon, when I did that, it came out to be 9-3. So again, when I used the original formula, 60% for the purple, it was 8-4, but it was really in between 8-4 and 9-3. So we're going to bump that up to 9-3, just because of the fact that if you just nudge these percentages up just a little bit, it's going to bump that up to 9-3. So I feel like this was a more fair projection for Oregon. Again, it's not a perfect formula if you're not going to put exact percentages on all the games. So the projection again for Oregon is 9-3. I think they absolutely can do better than that. The odds would tell you, they might lose to Ohio State. They might split Washington and Utah. But the odds would say if you've got 5 games where you're a favorite but not a big favorite, you're probably going to lose one of those games at least. So, that would kind of have them splitting Washington, Utah, losing Ohio State, then losing one of these games in the purple, and giving you a 9-3 projection for Oregon. I think that's probably worst case scenario. I think this team can do better. They are loaded with talent, and I think they are the favorite in the Pac-12, and that's why, again, I say this is not a prediction. I feel pretty confident that my prediction will be better than 9-3 for Oregon. There's a long ways to go before I make that official prediction, but there are some competitive teams in the Pac-12. I know you don't have a bunch of great teams in the Pac-12, but you got a bunch of solid teams, and when you don't bring your A game, these teams can knock you off, and that's why it might be tough for Oregon to run the table in the Pac-12. So 9-3 again, the projection. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts, your projection down in the comments below.